Hello everyone, I'm really excited to bring you this species profile. This is the Tiger Limia. It is my favorite live bear, and I can't wait to show you this awesome fish. I hope you like them as much as I do. Appreciate you being here. The Tiger Limia has long been one of my favorite live bears on the face of the earth. I absolutely love these fish. I love their color, I love their personality, and it really does offer something different for your aquarium if you're used to keeping guppies or platies or mollies and you want something that looks a little bit different but still has that activity level, still relatively easy to breed. These might be the fish for you. Now, the other thing that's interesting about this fish is they actually come from Haiti, and that's kind of unusual for an aquarium fish. And so it's nice to have a fish from a different part of the world. They inhabit one of the lakes there, and that lake is relatively clear. Now, size, these are fish that are relatively easy to manage. The females are going to top out at around 2 inches or so, maybe slightly smaller. Males a little bit smaller than the females. Females are going to be a little bit more round, again, a little bit larger. The color on these fish, I really like it. There's not that many fish out there that really show that nice green and yellow color the way that they do with those vertical bars, and I think that's one of the things I appreciate most about them is their color and that barring pattern throughout their body. Their temperament is really peaceful, and I think that's the other thing that really attracts me to these fish, and the reason why I have kept these fish in our fish room for many years. They are a peaceful fish. They get along well with one another. Right here you're looking at a 20-gallon tank, and we've got dozens of them in this aquarium. And not only do they get along well with one another, they get along well with other fish. We've had a wide variety of fish with our Tiger Limia in this tank before. One of the things that worked great were some of the smaller rainbows, like your furcata rainbows, your blue-eye reds, your feather fins. They have a high activity level as well, and so they just seem to get along. Tetras would work out pretty well if they're on the smaller side, like your neon-type tetras. Ember tetras would work out pretty well. Cherry barbs are a nice addition. Some of your rasboras would work. For instance, like your Galaxy Rasbora, otherwise known as the Celestial Pearl Daniel, Lamp-Eye Rasboras, Brilliant Green Rasboras. Honey gouramis would make a nice centerpiece addition for a Tiger Limia tank. Cory cats would be a great addition. We've kept bristlenose plecos. In fact, in this tank, we've got a long, thin green dragon pleco in here, and that's worked out just fine. Your platies, your guppies would probably be just fine as well. Mystery snails also work. I would be careful with shrimp. These fish might eat shrimp babies, and also be careful with some of the fish. If they're a little bit larger, they might try to eat some of your Tiger Limia fry. And so just keep that in mind when you're trying to figure out which fish you want to keep with your Tiger Limia. And like I said, we've got a lot more information about potential species that can go with your Tiger Limia down in the description below. Check out those videos. The other nice thing about the Tiger Limia is they accept a wide range of water parameters. Temperatures anywhere from 72 to 80. We keep ours right around 78 to 80 degrees. pH around 6.5 to 8. Our pH is on the upper end of that, around pH of 8. Water hardness anywhere from 3 to 4 up to 12 to 15. Our water hardness is around 10 degrees for our GH and KH, which is about 180 parts per million. One thing to keep in mind, you do want to have a fully cycled tank. If you don't know what that means, check out the video in the upper right hand corner. We go over how to cycle a tank and what that all means. Feeding these fish, also very simple to do. They have never turned down any food I have ever put in the tank. They are always very happy to eat whatever fish food we have. And we feed our fish North Fin foods. So the North Fin community flakes, they like the cichlid flakes, they will eat the kelp and the krill flakes. They also like the micro pellets, the sinking micro pellets. They go absolutely crazy for live baby brine shrimp and also love frozen brine shrimp. Now we feed them twice a day, and I think that's one of the reasons why we have such high rates of survival for our fry. All the fish are full and the adults don't really have any tendency to pick off the fry and eat the babies. In terms of tank size, I think you'd like at least a 10-gallon tank for these fish. This is a standard 20-gallon. It's probably a better option long term. But if you've got at least a 10-gallon and you want to get a male or two with 3 or 4 females, that'll work out just fine. They're not overly picky about how the tank is decorated or aquascaped. The substrate really isn't going to matter. Your substrate choice, therefore, should be based on the other fish you're keeping in the tank. So gravel or sand for these guys are just fine. You can see here we used live plants and rocks and wood. The live plants aren't necessary, but you see this floating hornwort in the tank, and that makes it a lot easier for the fry to find places to kind of retreat to and relax. And I think it also cuts down a little bit on the fry predation. Now we've just been using one sponge filter for this tank, and that has been more than sufficient. I like that because when you're breeding fish, the sponge filter is not going to suck up fry. Breeding these fish is relatively easy to do. Obviously you got to have at least a male and one female. Ideally you'd want a male and probably 3 or 4 females. Give them some time. I remember when we first got these fish, it took about 6 to 8 months before they started breeding, but once they did, we really produced a lot of fry. They are live bear, and so the females will give birth to live young, just like the guppies and just like your platies or mollies. Now there is no parental care for the fry, but like I said, they also don't go out of the way to eat their fry either. And just like I said before, I think that's because we feed them twice a day. The tank gets live baby brine shrimp twice a day, so that helps fry survival rates. And there's enough cover in the tank where the fry are not always going to be 100% visible to the adults either. Feeding the fry is also very simple. Between the live baby brine that we feed and the crushed flakes, they're not hard to feed. So if you don't want to hatch live baby brine, if you crush up some flake food, that should also be sufficient. But if you haven't given the Tiger Limia a try, I highly recommend, if you can get a hold of them, give them a try. We actually bring them to our swaps in the Chicagoland area and the Quad Cities swap in Davenport quite frequently. We have them on our website for pre-order. If you are in those areas and want to check them out, definitely give them a try, but they're awesome. They've got great color. You can see throughout the video, great personality. They're active fish. They like to explore the tank. Again, if you want more information on fish to keep with Tiger Limia, check out the description below. We've got a bunch more species profiles there. Really appreciate you being here. We'll see you in the next one.